welcome back to the Triple Threat Podcast. My name is Louis Mizel, and today we have our final mock draft. A little bit late. I'm recording this at 5:50, day of the draft, so around 2 hours before the draft, but it's done. We created it, and if you want to just read the article, you don't want to hear me read my spiel about every player. I have the article linked. I have a full article on my first 3-round mock. That'll be in the description below. If you don't want to hear me rambling, you just want to read on your own, just scroll your own team, perfectly okay. But if you want to get my analysis, this will be my 3-round mock. I'll try and keep it relatively short, try to give you some good analysis on each player and my reasoning behind each pick, and basically my just analysis of the players. But if you want deeper analysis, I'll probably do more after the draft, but I don't have such a time crunch. But anyways, let's get into it. First overall pick, and I need to preface something. This is not what I think is going to happen. This is what I would do as a GM, because if you already see all the mocks all over the internet of what you think is going to happen. That happens everywhere. It doesn't take a genius to do that. It just takes collecting sources. I don't have sources because who am I? And this will be my evaluation of the players, just so I can learn better as an analyst to be better college evaluator. Last year, obviously, Justin Herbert, completely wrong. Justin Jefferson, completely right. You never know. It's a crapshoot. I like seeing where I stand on these players rather than seeing where I stand on the analysts. So here we go. Number 1, quarterback Zach Wilson going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, it's not Trevor Lawrence, but Zach Wilson is incredibly good. It's not good. There's good reason why I have Zach Wilson. One, it's because I think Zach Wilson has the ability to be the best quarterback in the league with the ability he has, and he showed everything on tape. Everything you want out of a good quarterback. And what I think makes a great quarterback is being able to produce when a play is broken, either in coverage or in pressure, and being able to make the most of each play. And Zach Wilson does all of that because he has the most natural gifts of any quarterback in the draft. I know Trevor Lawrence has more arm talent, and I know Trey Lance, Justin is probably more leg talent, but Zach Wilson's a complete package. He has otherworldly arm talent, otherworldly accuracy. He's a great decision maker. He is nimble in the pocket. He can dance out of any pressure he gets, and he can throw from any body position, and he can throw from a clean pocket. He is great. You can't pressure him because he can slip out and make an off-platform throw perfectly. His motion is flawless, and he just has a little flick to it. So he has a quick release, and he can make every throw. He has most number of NFL throws of any quarterback in the league, any quarterback in this draft class. And what makes him so good is that compared to any other quarterback in this draft class, he plays in a pro-ready system. He makes pro-ready throws, and he's just incredible. The only flaws that you can really point in his game is that there's a discrepancy in level of competition. But from a quarterback position, a tight throw is a tight window is a tight window, and pressure is pressure. It doesn't matter who's coming at you, whether it's J.J. Watt or it's Derek Watt. It doesn't matter who's coming at you. If someone's in your face, someone's in your face. If it's a tight window, it's a tight window. Just getting the ball into a right spot. It doesn't matter what level of competition it is. And he played exceptionally well, and he's the closest thing we have to Rodgers and Mahomes. Certainly really the top pick. Well, that means that number 2, I have Trevor Lawrence with the Jets. And this is not an indictment. Trevor Lawrence is worthy of being the number 1 pick in most years. I just think Zach Wilson's that special to be a number 1 pick ahead of him. I mean, Lawrence is great. He's like what you would imagine the perfect quarterback would look like. He's 6'6". He's got a cannon arm. I mean, he is the ideal prospect. He's handled the spotlight for 3 years. He's stepped in as a redshirt freshman. He is a great prospect. He played in a very collegey system, and his accuracy isn't as far as someone like Zach Wilson. And I think that's kind of as a result of his touch. Doesn't always have the best touch. But it is a team sport. But over the last 2 years, he hasn't been great. He's been great. He's shown flashes of being brilliant in the playoffs, but I mean, he hasn't carried through in the big moments of his freshman year. I mean, he got outdueled by Joe Burrow last season pretty heavily. He got outdueled by Justin Fields pretty heavily. I mean, Justin Fields showed flashes of why he was the better quarterback in that game, but you walked away from that game and you said Justin Fields looked like a better player that game. I know it's a team sport, but I mean, Justin Fields looks like a better player in that game. Lawrence has some issues with his accuracy, as I said, and he's not as good as a decision maker. He's a little bit slower, a little bit clunkier, but he's still a great prospect, great talent, and has potential to be a top 5 quarterback. I just think that the combination of having less accuracy, a slower decision maker, and not as great when the play is dead. I mean, he's got wheels. I mean, he can fly if the play's dead. He can just get out of the pocket and go. But he doesn't have that Wilson-like ability to extend the play and make something out of nothing in the air as well as the legs. So that's why I have Wilson out of him. But don't think Clark isn't a great prospect. You already have heard how great he is. At number 3, it's the San Francisco 49ers, and this is where it really gets interesting because you hear it's between Kellen Mond, or you hear it's been between Trey Lance and Mac Jones, and I have Justin Fields. I think that this pick is being overanalyzed, and Justin Fields, the prospect's being totally overanalyzed because he is great. He is an incredible prospect. He has a cannon arm. He has the best deep accuracy. Maybe Zach Wilson's up there too, but Justin Fields has a Russell Wilson parabolic type deep ball accuracy, and it's really special to see what he did with Chris Olave this season. He just threw perfect blazers. I mean, perfect. I mean, in stride, no defender can get it. Just great, accurate deep balls. And then you hear all these ridiculous theories about, like, oh, he's a bad character. Maybe he's not a great leader. I mean, he got the whole season started for the whole conference. I mean, oh, he's got mechanical issues and his accuracy's poor. I mean, he was the second most accurate quarterback, arguably the most accurate quarterback this entire draft class behind Mac Jones. I mean, accuracy is just not the issue. His issues, blitz, and decision making. You saw that in the Northwestern Indiana games. Against the blitz, he is not good. He already holds on the ball for way too long, and combined with the blitz, he somehow manages to hold on to the ball even longer. So that's an issue. And the decision making, he has a lot of one reads, but he's able to process defenses fairly well. I mean, I wouldn't say it's an inability, but he does hold on to the ball. Though he's a little slower of a decision maker, but he makes good decisions. He's good with the ball. He doesn't make a lot of turnover-worthy plays. And then talking about the fit in San Francisco, a lot of it's just listening to what Kyle Shanahan tells you to do, because he'll scheme up an open player and he'll just like throw it to George Kittle and around the 20-yard line. It'll be wide open and just easy touchdown. If you want someone to maximize that offense, maximize the skill set, and to maximize the plays that Kyle Shanahan is designing, you want the quarterback that's the most accurate, has the most arm talent. And while Mac Jones certainly might be the most accurate, Justin Fields is not that far behind, and his arm talent is exceedingly much better. And not to mention, he's much more mobile and has the running ability of, he's 4.40 time. I mean, he's quick. He can dance in the pocket. So he is someone who provides much more upside than Mac Jones can, and can probably execute the offense just as well. Because as much as important decision making is, I think that what Justin Fields can do, I think Kyle Shanahan's system really minimizes his weaknesses, and he'll be overall the best player. But the problem is that whoever gets picked to the spot's going to look like a great quarterback, because Kyle Shanahan is just so brilliant. He can make any quarterback look great. I mean, C.J. Beathard looked fine. Nick Mullins looked good. But Jimmy Garoppolo won 7 games in a row. So to start a stint there with a not great offense. So he is just a great coach, and any quarterback here is going to be a great quarterback because just it's a perfect system. It's very easy. Moving on, we have a trade. Interesting. So I have the Los Angeles Chargers coming up to get Penei Sewell. So Atlanta has a team that's very desperate to get out of this situation. They want to trade back. They've got a lot of issues on their team, cap situation, aging players. They want to trade back, get some more future assets, start a little rebuild with Terry Fontenot as the new GM. And they don't have a lot of leverage. I don't see a quarterback being worth trading up for at this spot. So there's not a lot of suitors that are going to want to come up to get this 4 spot. It's either going to be for someone like Jamar Chase or someone like Penei Sewell. So I think the Falcons' best offer is going to be the Chargers. They get a 2nd-round pick. They get a 1st-round pick. They're happy with that. I think they can't complain with that. So let's talk about Penei Sewell. I think the Chargers desperately need some offensive line help, and Penei Sewell is a generational prospect. He is special. And I think that Herbert needs someone to protect him. And, I mean, we've already seen it. No one did it better than Penei Sewell. He was a great player in college. He was the best tackle in the whole nation as a 19-year-old. He developed last season that we didn't get to see because he didn't play. And, I mean, he's just great. I mean, you're overanalyzing him. He's a great tech prospect. There's a difference between him and any other prospect we've seen. He's the best tackle prospect we've seen in a while. What happened when the Colts took a generational guard in Quentin Nelson? Their offensive line changed completely. They became one of the best teams in the league immediately. Just was a great offensive lineman. And this is a tackle. This isn't a guard. This is a tackle. Penny Sewell can be that kind of impact maker of this offense. And they've already got a great team. Get him a great tackle. Well worth a second round pick, in my opinion, to go up and get Penny Sewell. And this makes the Bengals' decision at 5 incredibly easy. Oh, it's been Penny Sewell to Jamar Chase. One of them's gone. It's Jamar Chase now. You're going to take Joe Burrow's guy, back-to-back picks, reuniting a college player with his college quarterback. But this time it's actually kind of more important because it's a receiver, not a offensive lineman, and that connection actually matters. I mean, Jamar Chase is an all-time receiver prospect. I mean, he is by far the best prospect we've seen in a decade. He is a elite talent. He's got the best ball skills in the receiver in this class. He's got legit 4.3 speed, and as a 19-year-old, he made NFL receivers look like kids. AJ Terrell was in his hip pocket all game in the championship game, and he just bullied him because he's great at the catch point. He's great at the release. He's great everywhere. Sure, his route running technique might be a little unique, and he's not the most perfect and polished route runner, but it doesn't matter. He'll get open no matter what because he's got a great blend of physicality, finesse, and just general skill. So there's no one that does it better than him. This offense will be electric with Boyd and T. Higgins. And obviously, Joe Burrow. I mean, this team will be awesome. I think this will be a great pick. And they'll be glad they don't have to make the decision between who to pick between Penny Sewell and Jamar Chase. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins. I have been taking Devontae Smith out of Alabama. What Tua needs to maximize his skill set is someone's going to get open. What Tua does well is he's got great accuracy in the pocket. It could throw a really, really nice intermediate ball. But with his receivers last season, he didn't really have anyone that could get separation. Devontae Parker's not a separation guy. He's a contested catch guy. And they didn't really build relationships. They had trusted each other enough to throw those contested balls last season. What Devontae Smith's going to do is he's going to get open. That's what he does. He gets open. And that's why he was so great in that Bama offense last season. That's why I thought he was the best prospect in that Bama receiver room. Last season when I was watching Tua's film, I think Devontae Smith's just a great elite prospect. And he gets open, he gets yards, and he's consistent. And that's all you can want from an NFL corner of wide receiver. I think this is a clear pick here. You've already got a solid tight end. Get the best receiver in this class. Help Tua out. It's an easy pick. As for Devontae Smith's size, doesn't matter. The only thing you'd be concerned about by someone being 166 pounds is being pressed. Did you ever see that being an issue on tape? No, there's no issue on tape of him being pressed and being beat with size. I mean, there's just no issue. There's just nothing to be found. If you can't press him, why does his size matter? If you really need him to bulk up, he's going to bulk up. But his playing size right now is not an issue. And at this point, I think he's just messing with you guys. He is a great prospect. Overthinking this one, he won the Heisman for a reason. As a receiver, that's just rare. So I think that Devontae Smith will greatly improve Tua's game and make Tua look more like a deserving number 5 overall pick last season. Now, here's another little shocker for you. I've got at number 7, the Detroit Lions taking Jaelan Phillips. Now, Jaelan Phillips, he may not be considered as the best defensive end in this draft class, but I'm telling you, the gap between him and top guys like Nick Bosa and Chase Young and Myles Garrett, it's not as great as you think it is. He is a top 10 talent at the edge position. He produced like it last season. He was incredible in that Miami defense. The only problem you have with him is that medical issue of those concussions. But more and more we get into the process. The concussion issue seems to be going away more and more. Teams are loving the character, and teams are obviously going to love the production and talent because it's the best in this draft class by any defender. He is a great prospect, and that's exactly what they need. Now, obviously, I would recommend any team to upgrade quarterback position no matter what. They can get an upgrade Mac Jones, Kellen Mond, or Trey Lance. But the problem is that the reason you get a young quarterback is to maximize that rookie contract, but you're paying Jared Goff all that money for the next couple of seasons, so you're not going to benefit from having a rookie quarterback at all because you're already paying a quarterback like a top quarterback, and you're playing a rookie. So You're not going to benefit from that rookie contract. You're not in a window to draft a rookie quarterback, so you can't take advantage of that contract. So take the best player available, and in my opinion, that's Jalen Phillips. So let's move on to the 8th pick. And the Carolina Panthers, I want to take offensive lineman here, but someone fell into the laps and just Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is awesome. And there are some flaws with this game, and I'll get to those in a second, but he bullies kids. What Ja'Marr Chase did last season, Kyle Pitts did this year. He made grown men look like kids on a weekly basis. But you're hearing the rumors of him being a top 4, top 5, top 6 pick. But as a prospect, I don't think he's that great because I think he's awesome. He's a top 10 pick, but he's not that high. He's not a top 6 pick because if you think about it, as a receiver, he's the 3rd best receiver in this class behind Ja'Marr, obviously, Devontae Smith. But tight end has more value than receiver. But what a tight end does is great inline blocking and inline receiving. And Kyle Pitts is a average blocker, just average. He's solid, nothing special. And he is a worse receiver when lined up in line. His best receiving last season took place when he was lined up outside. So he is arguably worse when playing as a tight end than when playing as a receiver. So I think he has to be drafted behind both Devontae Smith and Ja'Marr Chase. And that's where I have him here. He's a generous tight end prospect. He will be awesome. But people are already regarding him as being a George Kittle, a Travis Kelce, or Darren Waller type player, and he hasn't reached that yet. And when you think about all those guys in common, what do those 3 players have in common? They weren't good prospects coming out. They were all late round draft picks. And what does a generational tight end prospect even mean? Sure, he's a great receiver, but he's not going to be able to contribute in a run game like George Kittle or like Travis Kelce. And Darren Waller is just a special type of receiver that makes him so great. So maybe he can develop into a Darren Waller type player, but it's not a guarantee, and it's not really worth spending a top 6 pick on. I don't think so. I think this is around a acceptable range for him. If you're the Panthers, you also might want to look at like an offensive tackle at this spot because the offensive line will really need some help, and you don't want to have Sam Darnold in another New York Jets type situation. Let's move on to the number 9 pick, and I've got another player in the same mold as a Jalen Phillips. It's going to be Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that he's the most talented quarterback in this class. What he can do in a coverage perspective combined with his intangibles and his traits, he can be a shutdown corner in any scheme. And having a shutdown corner that can go man-to-man on literally any receiver in the league is something that you cannot put enough value on because you can change coverages and you can match any team. You will not have to adjust your coverage because you're playing a Tyreek Hill or playing some otherworldly speed or size. You can do whatever you want at defense, and you can make the offense adjust because you have someone as special as Caleb Farley on your team. Farley runs a 4.240, a 4.240, a 4.28. And you can debate about the legitimacy of all these pro day times, but regardless of the pro day times or not, that's still the fastest time of anyone in this draft class. What he does, he's the fastest player. And that shows on tape as well. His makeup speed's incredible because at the corner position, sure, a receiver can get open without speed, but a corner cannot cover without speed because you have to be able to catch up and be able to be in stride with every receiver, make a speed if you get something wrong on technique. Speed is the most important thing at the corner position. He's the fastest. Combine that with his incredible production, he had a pass rating allowed of below 30 in his 2019 season. Below 30. That's insane. But he opted out this season, and he has the back injury. And the back injury is the main injury. So he had a deadlifting accident, and he had some dislocation of his spine. It had two procedures, one back when it happened, and one recently before the pro day. The pro day one was just kind of cautionary thing. It's the same injury. It's not a re-aggravation. It was just they didn't do it the first time because they didn't think they needed to, but they went back and cleaned it up. When I've heard 80% chance he's fine, 20% chance he's going to have to get a spinal fusion. Spinal fusion, you're going to reduce the 20% even further down to being career-ending. If he hits, there's no doubt in my mind he's not a top 5 player because he's the best corner prospect since Jalen Ramsey. But the problem is that he does have the chance of being a complete bust because of injury. I don't see that happening. I see him being a great prospect, and that's what the Broncos need. As I said with uh, teams early in the draft, like the Lions, I always recommend getting an upgrade at the quarterback position. You have potential upgrades. You've got three quarterbacks that I like in Field, Mond, and Jones. But I'm a big Drew Lock fan. And I want to see what Drew Lock can do if he stays healthy the whole season. Might be dope, but I would like to see what Lock can do. So I take the best player available. They need a corner. Caleb Farley's the best. Easy pick. Now moving on to number 10, we got the Dallas Cowboys selecting Patrick Surtain. Like father, like son, he is the most NFL ready corner in this league, in this draft class. He will not bust. I mean, he will be from day one, average NFL corner, and he will develop into a solid, productive, great corner. But he's not going to reach that elite tier, top 10, top 5, because he lacks those traits like a Caleb Farley, like the speed. He lacks the speed. But he makes all of that up with his great technique, his fluidity. I mean, he is just so NFL ready with his just technique, expertise, intelligence. He will just be a great cornerback. It's what the Cowboys need. It's an easy pick. We now have the New York Giants, another NFC East team. 11th pick. I'm taking Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. This guy is awesome. We'll get into the fit in a second, but I just want to talk about the player for a second. He effortlessly annihilates people. He touches you, you're dead. I mean, it seems effortless the way he can just move people. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's comical sometimes. Like, there's just nothing. He is such a great mover of people. It is just ridiculously funny to watch. When he touches an edge defender, I mean, they just get blown backward. It's just ridiculous. I mean, with that being said, he was the second highest graded tackle in the entire NCAA last season, only behind Brady Christensen of BYU. And he did it against a much better competition set. He went up against a lot of really, really good edge defenders in the ACC. I mean, this year's ACC class has a lot of good edge defenders, and we'll get to them in the draft because, I mean, they're going to be in my 3-round mock. I mean, there's just a lot of good ones. He dominated them. He was incredible. He was great in the run game. He was great in the pass game. And he'll just be incredible. So they have two tackles. They have Matt Peart and they have Andrew Thomas. Peart, he's big, so it's not the best chance he's going to be able to move inside, but he can. I probably can move inside. I don't think it'd be too much of a stretch, but even if he's a tackle only, you're upgrading it to you're getting a top tackle with prospect in the draft class because I mean, he's just ridiculous. His ability, his skill set, his production, everything's there on tape. He is the second best in this draft class. Would have been the best, in my opinion, in the last draft class because I think he's better than Andrew Thomas. I think this guy is ridiculously good, and I think that you can move Slater inside. You don't have Slater that long in your contract anymore. You cannot act like he's even a good player. He's an average, below average tackle anymore. Move him inside. You've got to have an offensive line of Thomas Darrisaw on the edges. Great tackle duo. Slater or Matt Peart inside with obviously Will Hernandez who they drafted, and whoever they put at center. Doesn't matter. It's a good offensive line. Barkley be happy. Daniel Jones be happy. You're going to be able to make a proper determination on whether Daniel Jones is the guy or not before you have to pay him a contract because he's shown flashes. He hasn't been special. It's been great, but if he can't be great with this offensive line, I think Kenny Galladay, then it's over. But this pick will help the Giants solidify whether they made the right decision in drafting a Daniel Jones. So moving on, number 12, we got the Philadelphia Eagles trading back with the Dolphins and the Niners, I guess, in a way. They get Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. I mean, it's no secret that they are a receiver-needy team. They need a receiver. Their depth chart is, I mean, it's J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor, Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward. I mean, just dismal. They need someone who can make Jalen Hurts work because Jalen Hurts is not going to be able to throw into a tight window to Travis Fulgham. I mean, it's just not how it's going to work because he's not the most accurate quarterback. He's going to need some separation. He's going to need someone to be open. So what what Bateman does the best is he is great at getting separation of the line of scrimmage because he's got an incredible release package. I mean, what he could do at the beginning of the route is special. I mean, he will be open in any short route. He can be open on any deep route. He just gets open. That's his specialty. Like, he's Devontae Smith level of getting open. He's got solid hands. There was some drop issues his last season, but I mean, the problem is he didn't have great quarterback play at all. He has great yards after the catch, 36 career broken tackles. He's got legit 4.4 speed. I mean, separation, speed, size, yak ability. What's not to love? Rashad Bateman's a great prospect. I think he's going to be a great fit for this team. And he will be the number one, day one. He's better than Jalen Reagor by a mile. Not even close. And he'll help Jalen Hurts develop as a quarterback. I don't know if he'll have much production in that offense, but he'll certainly have a role to play with those. I don't know how their offense is going to run under Nick Sirianni, but if anything with Colts, I mean, he'll get some volume. He'll definitely have a productive season. Now, we have the Falcons right now. They traded back with the Chargers. They're going to take, in my opinion, as I said, get a quarterback. Upgrade our quarterback, Mac Jones. Matt Ryan is nearing the end. He's had a big contract. He's been great for them. So why not draft Matt Ryan 2.0? I mean, they've got the Falcons have a great, interesting situation because, as I said, poor cap, aging players. They should just rebuild, get their quarterback. They may not be in a quarterback window, but, I mean, who knows? They've got a great prospect here. It's worth taking a flyer on a quarterback at this point. I mean, Mac Jones is great. He's an incredibly quick decision maker, as quick as Joe Burrow, maybe a little bit slower, and he's incredibly accurate. He's like Joe Burrow if Joe Burrow didn't have incredible pocket maneuverability and athleticism. I mean, not that Mac Jones can't maneuver in the pocket. He's a former tennis player. He's got a lot of maneuverability, and his speed, I think, is underrated. I think he ran in the 4.6s, 4.7s. I mean, I think it's 4.7. I think he ran in the 4.7. I mean, if you watch Mac Jones or what you're hearing from Mac Jones, you'd probably think he ran like a 7.5. I mean, people are disrespecting his athleticism. Yes, he's got an average NFL arm, but it's decision making and just overall accuracy. He'll be a great pocket passer. I mean, he can be Matt Ryan 2.0. And Falcons fans might have grown. They may not want another Matt Ryan, but I mean, he's been a top 10 quarterback in the league for quite a while. They've been lucky to have Matt Ryan. I think any team would take a Matt Ryan when trying to rebuild. I think that this is it's a good player to build around. You've already got some young players in this team. Haven't really developed with. Maybe you keep Julio Jones. I don't know, but I think you take a best player available. Jones is best player available. He will help your team in the future. Why not? Why not? You could have taken him at 4. You're getting a second-round pick. You're trading back. He fell to you. Why not take him? So we've got another trade here. I've got the football team. They're trading up from 19. They're trading with the Vikings to go to 14 to snake the Patriots. We've got one pick ahead of them, and they're going to take a Kellen Mond. So, as I said, this is not what I think's going to happen. Kellen Mond's going to be a day 2 player. 100%. 100%. There's just no way he's a first-round pick in real life. But I love Kellen Mond. I turned on the film, and I immediately gravitated towards him because I watched the Bama game first against incredible defense. Just awesome. Literally with NFL players. He looked great. He fit balls into tight windows. Yeah, there were some problems. His deep ball accuracy isn't perfect, but he was great diagnoser with the defense. He was a technician, threw the ball great. Great athlete as well. He's a 95th percentile runner, 4.5, 4.6 40 time. I mean, he's athletic. He has all the tools. Not to mention he's just incredibly accurate. He's been in a pro-style system in Texas A&M for 3 years. He's developed each year, and he can be a great player. He played well at the Senior Bowl. He played well against UNC in the bowl game. But his deep ball accuracy is a bit concerning. That'd be my biggest flaw with him. And even though the Washington football team, they have Fitzpatrick, I mean, there's an inevitability that he'll go from Fitzmagic to Fitztragic at some point. And Kellen Mond is the NFL ready to take over. This team is too good. They don't have a future beyond Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's not a top half quarterback. Kellen Mond can't be in his career. He can develop quickly. He's ready. He can lead this young team. Him, Antonio Gibson. I mean, Scary Terry. I mean, this is going to be a good team. Their front seven's awesome. And they're going to get a quarterback who I think can lead them in the future. And moving on, we've got the New England Patriots. 15, they got snaked on Kellen Mond, but they take Trey Lance. Now, there's a lot of buzz about Trey Lance being a top 5 player in this draft class, and you can see it. there's clear ability there. He's got some of the best legs in this draft class. He has wheels. He can run. He is a special runner. He's also got an incredible arm talent. But he's got 3 huge flaws, or mainly 2 huge flaws. 3. Let's go 3. First, he cannot anticipate. He just doesn't anticipate. And this is one of the reasons why he's such a clean passer. 0 turnovers in his last season. I know he had one against Central Arkansas last season in the only game he played. Not a good game. Really not a good game. Terrible first half. But he cannot anticipate. So he only throws when the receiver's open, and just that is not going to cut at the NFL level. He doesn't do a great job at diagnosing defenses and making the proper reads. There's often times where you go like, here's a better option. There's a better option right here. Throw it here. No, I don't want to throw it over here. He doesn't have that great processing. I think he can be. He's a great worker. He's a great person. So I have faith in the person. But right now, from what I see on film, he doesn't do a great job diagnosing defenses. And I said the same things about Justin Herbert, and look where I am. I said, great talent, flaws on film. What happened? The talent showed. The talent showed through. So I could be easily wrong about this, and he'll easily be a great quarterback. What do I know? And the last thing is his accuracy is awful. I mean, it was bad. On film, he overthrow screens. He wouldn't hit a deep ball. I mean, Kellen Mond, similar. Inaccuracies deep. Inaccuracies middle. I mean, it's just a lot of flaws on film. I really like his work with Quincy Avery, though, as a quarterback coach. I think his pro day looked a lot better. He fixed his mechanical issue where he would kind of like dip down before he would throw a pass, and it was really strange. Like I didn't understand what was going on. He looked like he fixed that. He got his feet planted a lot better. It looks like he's cleaning up a lot of his issues. I think that's really good. The potential in Trey Lance is otherworldly, but there's a lot of flaws you have to fix too. Combine that he's playing with the Alabama of the FCS. Like you hear about, Zach Wilson's level of competition, but I mean, this guy's playing worse competition on a clearly superior team. It'd be like if Alabama went up and played at Alcorn State every week or the Citadel. I mean, that wouldn't be fair at all. And then combine that, his one game this year was dreadful. It just wasn't good. So I wanted this to be my guy. I came in from last season's draft. I went to start analyzing quarterbacks like Trey Lance, 0 interceptions, great runner. Wow, I think this is going to be my guy. This is going to be the sleeper draft pick. This is going to rival Justin Fields. But when I turned on the film, it just wasn't that. He's worth a flyer because his potential is a top 5 quarterback. But I think in this system he can be. It's a difficult system to learn with all the Cam Newton, but the potential is otherworldly. I think he can reach that potential in New England. I'd be lucky to have him. It's a good pick here. I think both players are happy. But Trey Lance, if he doesn't go to the right system, or if he just doesn't have the opportunity or just doesn't develop, I mean, he can be a bust. And I think that's a little bit too risky for me to take him in the top 10. I think 15 is about right. This is probably where I take him. Potential is worth it. Quarterback position, if you hit, you hit. Swing for the fences, because if you swing for the fences, then you hit. You're set. But, man, there's just a big chance that you just whiff and just strike. I mean, strike out or home run. That's all you can get with Trey Lance. Moving on, we got the 16th pick. We got the Arizona Cardinals. Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. He opted out last season, but he's a great tackle prospect. He can also play guard. I think that Kyler Murray, give him some help. Give him some pocket presence and let him see, because if he can't, it's not pressure. He's not going to be able to look over the offensive lines. Obviously, I don't think height's an issue for Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's a great quarterback. He's a top 10 quarterback already. He's phenomenal. Get him some more help. He's got his weapons already. They gave him AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins. He's good at the weapons. Christian Kirk and Isabella. They've already got the weapons. Give him some protection. They've got some decent offensive linemen there, but they'll strip the right-hand side. Either he plays guard, Josh Jones plays tackle, or he plays tackle, Josh Jones plays guard. The right-hand side is fixed. And the left-hand side's already pretty solid. They got Pugh. They've got, I forget the name, DJ Reed, Humphreys. I don't know. The left tackle is pretty good. And they just signed Rodney Hudson. So offensive line's fixed. Weapons look great. I mean, this looks like a pretty solid pick for them. They're just going to take a high-floor, quality offensive lineman Just a back injury, the guy diagnosed at the medical combine, a little bit concerning for me. But he is a fundamentally sound player. He gets off the line incredibly quickly. He's got great read and reaction to tackle. I think defenses have a bigger need at this spot for the team, but they can probably get someone later in the draft. And you'll see. It's 3-round mock. We're not just going to leave Yang at the first round, like every mock you see. Moving on, pick 17, Las Vegas Raiders, Micah Parsons out of Penn State. He's a great talent. Great talent. He's got some off-field concerns, stuff at high school, stuff at the college level. Very concerning. I don't want to get into the details of that, but don't love it. But John Gruden, they're not afraid to pop on a character issue guy. And they saw Damon Arnett last season. Completely different shift from when they went there, all character draft, first draft, and they drafted Damon Arnett in the first round. It made no sense. But Raider fans be happy. They take some that's higher on people's draft boards than ever before. Because every time they pick up someone, it's someone that's not on the consensus board at all. They don't understand the concept of value. But with Mike Parsons, that'd be great. So let's get into Parsons, the player, because he is terrific. He's a 99th percentile athlete. He is just insane. As an athlete, he's just otherworldly. He is a converted defensive end, so he's got a lot of pass rushing ability from the linebacker position. He's also a great tackler. He's got range because he's so quick. His only real weakness right now is him as a coverage player. He relies on other players to cover for him in college. He kind of just let other people do that for him. He's just going to tackle. He's going to go tackle either in the backfield on a quarterback, running back, receiver. He blew up plays anywhere within the 3-yard range of the line of scrimmage. He was just dominant that way. He opted out last season. If he develops into a coverage player, he'll be elite because right now he's already got the run game. He's already got the pass game, or the pass rush game. He just got to develop coverage. With his skill set and his speed, his size, easily can. Just look at the next pick. We'll talk about him in a second. But he can be special, but his floor is a solid run-stuffing linebacker. But the Raiders should be happy if Parsons falls to them. But knowing Gruden, they'll probably pass on him and select someone like, I don't know, Tommy Tremble. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch, but they might take like Landon Dickerson this early or a Creed Humphrey, imagine. They just might take something really strange like that. So moving on, number 18 pick, Zaven Collins. I have him as my linebacker 3, but his fit in the system is just so great that I just couldn't ignore it. He's 6'5" as a linebacker. I mean, we haven't seen that kind of size at linebacker in a long time. And he graded out as both the best coverage linebacker and the best pass rush linebacker in this draft class. He's just insane. His tackling ability isn't great, but his elite coverage and pass rushing ability makes up for that. And the reason why he's so scary in this defensive scheme is that Brian Flores can disguise what coverage he's in, like a Dante Hightower kind of role. Is he going to rush? Is he going to be a pass rusher? Is he going to be a coverage player? You don't know. And that is going to just keep quarterbacks scared. Because if you don't know where a 6'5" guy is going to do, who can be just as deadly in coverage as in pass rush, that is a unique skill set that someone like Brian Flores' skills can really unleash. He can be wasted on the wrong team, but in this fit, it would be just beautiful. Moving on to 19, I have the Minnesota Vikings trading back, and they get Elijah Vera-Tucker, the player they probably would have taken at 14 regardless. So acquiring some extra capital and getting a great player, win-win for both teams. Football team gets the quarterback. They get the same guy they were going to get at 14. So Vera-Tucker kind of seems like an Andrews Pete prospect, and if you're a fellow Saints fan, you may not love the sound of that, but he is a player who was a very, very sound guard. Will be a great guard. I mean, Andrews Pete, he's got some issues at guard, but think about this: he's an Andrews Pete prospect that's just a better guard. So he can come in and be a great guard for you. What he does, he's incredibly consistent as a blocker. He's got great read and react, just like Slater. He's also quick off the line, like Slater. He's also got great athleticism. But he can also play tackle. He played tackle last season at USC, played guard the 2 years before. So if the inevitable injury happens on the offensive line, you can kick him out the tackle, but elsewise he can play guard. And that versatility is going to be something that's very valuable for a team like the Vikings. And he can play wherever you want him to. And I think that's just something that brings a lot of value to the team, just like the Saints, Andrews Pete. If Trevon Armstead gets hurt, he's your new tackle. I mean, that's a value that you can't quantify. So I think it's a great pick there. They get a great player. Number 20, Chicago Bears, J.C. Horn. Uh, I love J.C. He's got the ability and the mentality to be a great press cover corner in the league. Horn thrives with his ball skills, physicality, and he really became a physical player this season. He wasn't really one last season. I mean, he had that ability, but he didn't become that aggressive press corner, getting his hands on you, being a handy defender. Um, he didn't get that until this season, and that physicality makes him just imposing. And he developed that after he got kind of toasted by the Bama receiving core of Judy, Waddle, Smith, and Ruggs. Just great. But when he switched his play style up this season, he became incredibly productive. Big leap in his performance. He allowed a pass rating of below 55 and a complete percentage of 33% when targeted. I think that his style of play could be flagged in the NFL, but he's shown he can play without contact, like in 2018 and 19. And I don't think that he's going to be that flagged that much. He's a smart player. He's got the mentality. He's physically imposing. He's great at ball skills. I think it'd be a great pick here. And that's a position of need for them after they lost Fuller, him and Jalen Johnson. Former great duo. There's no quarterback here to take. That's pretty much it. That's the biggest hole in their team, quarterback and corner. So there's no quarterback, take a corner. Pretty easy as that. 21, this was either a tackle to replace Anthony Costanzo or an edge defender, because right now they got Taekwon Lewis and Ben Banawu as their edge defenders. And if I don't know much about their edge defenders as players, you've got a problem. So they don't have the Nico Autry or Justin Houston anymore. Both of them were very productive for them last season. Woody Paye is just a freak athlete. I mean, 4.5 and a 6.5 cone. That is mind-boggling athleticism. Mind-boggling. With Ben like that, like the 6.5 cone. I mean, that shows his bend. With bend and speed like that, I mean, he's also got 99th percentile bench press. I mean, it's obvious to see the potential Paye has. He's shown the work ethic to become a better passer. He's developed his pass rushing moves every single year in his career, and he has just be better. And that ability and that work ethic to want to improve, even though he's just gonna athleticism or just being a better athlete than anyone else in the field. The ability to work to want to be even better, even though you're already dominant, is just a great sign about his intangibles. And then he was dominant last season. A 26.5% pass rush win rate and a 9.5% run stop rate. He's got all the ability in the world. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got production as well. There's no reason to think that he won't be a top edge in this league with the Colts. I think that he'll be dominant. He'll be great. He will fill in for Justin Houston. He'll be a great player. He's got all the athleticism in the world. He can be great. He's got the production and the side and the athleticism, and that's the combination you want to see from an edge coming out. Don't expect a lot of production immediately. Edges don't typically have good rookie seasons. I mean, that's just a fact. It'll be maybe 5 sacks, 3 sacks, 4 sacks. It doesn't matter. He'll be there. He'll be disruptive, and he'll be an influence on this defense next to DeForest Buckner. I think it's a great pick there. Moving on, 22, Titans, Greg Newsome. I think Newsome will be a great pick here. Newsome is a great cover corner. He is silky smooth. He's got the athleticism as well, and he stays in the hip pocket of any receiver. I mean, he's always right there. He's always right on him. I mean, he graded out exceptionally well. And I think he's in that same tier as Horn, Farley, and Surtain. I think he's right in that tier. I don't think there's that much of a difference between him, Surtain, and Horn. I mean, I think they're all very similar prospects. And the Titans are loving this because they picked the similar player to similar production player to Patrick Surtain 12 picks later. So I think the Titans will love this pick. It's a big need for them. Right now, they're coming up this little lackluster. They just got Chris Fulton pretty much, who they drafted last season. Pretty much it. His production last season was ridiculous. In zone and in man coverage. He had a average pass rating allowed of 31. 31. It's just plain ridiculous. He's productive. He's got sub 4.4 speed. I mean, he's toolsy. He's productive. He's in the right spot. He's silky smooth. He's got great technique, great speed. I mean, I love Greg Newsome. I think he's a really, really good player. It's a great pick. New York Jets are up on the clock again, and they need to protect their young quarterback wherever they go. Probably going to be Zach Wilson in the real scenario, but you got to protect him. You don't want to have another Sam Darnold type situation on your hands. Get him a tackle. You already got Becton on one side. Becton was really exceeded my expectations last season. Go get him a right tackle. What you gonna do? Oh, well, great right tackle is available. Tevin Jenkins is a violent man. Violent. He is just awesome. When he gets his hands on you, he won't stop. He will keep going with the same motor until you were on the ground. Like it's demoralizing how violent and how assertive he is on the offensive line. Heck, he's fun to watch. I mean, he may not be the same effortless people moving as Darrisaw, but he moves people. He is a people mover in the same definition of the world. I mean, he is awesome. So Phil slotted perfectly at right tackle. He's a natural right tackle. He played right tackle, and he'll form a great duo with Mekhi Becton. You have some concerns. Packed Big Ten, the last three defensive in front. Not a very NFL style defenses he's going to face, but he was great. He was dominant. I've got no problems with him. Maybe you question maybe his mirror technique, his ability to set his feet, or what happens when he gets his hands placed on him. Because if he doesn't get his hands on you first, I mean, he can get beat. He's not going to be like a Darrisaw guy where he's just going to be 0-0-0. Nothing's going to touch the quarterback. He can get beat, but he's consistent enough. He is violent enough, and I think he will be a great player. Him and Becton will form huge holes in the run game for wherever they get a running back. Will they draft one? Stay tuned. But I think it's going to be a great pick, and I think the Tevin Jenkins will do a great job protecting whatever quarterback they have, and their quarterback will just not have a Sam Darnold type beginning to his career. Moving on, 24 Steelers. I think it's a little bit too early to take a running back here. We've seen running backs, second round guys are the ones that produce the most. First round running backs, the running back class, it's all right. And any first round pick can bust, and any first round pick can succeed. But busting with the first round running back is bad. I mean, we've seen the Tony Michel's, what's his name, Penny, from I think he went to San Diego State. If you bust in the first round as a running back, it's bad. It's very, very bad. I don't think it's worth taking a running back at this point unless you're a special talent like Jonathan Taylor last season, who I was absolutely high on. I think Najee's a first-round talent, but I wouldn't take one here. I would take a solid tackle here. You need a tackle, obviously, and there's a solid tackle available. So you're going to get Dylan Radins out of North Dakota State. As well, I also take a quarterback when was available here because I don't trust Big Ben at all. Old, not great. But as for the pick, Radins, he was a great job at protecting Lance. Explosive release, killer mentality. He didn't face great competition. And at the tackle position, that's kind of important because it matters who you're going up against. But he has the ability. He's got the athleticism. And I think he has the ability to translate to the NFL level. He's a little bit more of a projection than the other tackle prospects. I think he's in the class below. I think you have probably Darrisaw and Sewell's a tier by his own, and then you got Darrisaw, Slater, and Jenkins, and then you have Dylan Radins, the rest of the guys we'll talk about. So solid pick. Just get the best tackle available. Help up your offensive line. Moving on, 25, Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is my guy. This is my guy, Elijah Moore. Last year I had Justin Jefferson. This year it's Elijah Moore. Moore is just ridiculous. He broke every statistic PFF had, every college statistic. He was awesome. And he did for every position. Outside slot, he was 7th in deep yards, 4th in slot yards. His size is the only thing you can criticize him for. He's 5'9". But when I tell you, he does not let his size affect him at all, believe me, because he had 11 contested catches last season at a 73% win rate. He is dominating guys taller than him, out-muscling them, being more aggressive and more talented at the catch point and being a better ball skills-wise, that he doesn't let his size affect him. He's tenacious that way. He also has 18 broken tackles, making him a yak machine. and he has legit 4.3 speed. He's a complete package. Separation, catch radius, just great hands, great speed, great separation. What more is there to love? I will pick him up in every fantasy league because I love Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is my guy. He's my guy. Staple it in. He's going to be a great player. I might even move him up to 3. He might be better than Rashad Bateman. I don't know. I love Elijah Moore. My guy. Moving on, 26, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, Notre Dame. My second-ranked linebacker, and he could be the best pure Mike in this class. Him and David Collins are pretty similar in my opinion. His coverage ability is special. It's the reason he played more snaps as a slot cornerback than he did at linebacker. Like, you watch a lot of the film against Notre Dame, watch guys like North Carolina against him, Alabama against him. You're like, where's JOK? I don't see him. He's not a linebacker. That's my first reaction. Like, where's JOK? He's not on the field. I'm like, oh, he's playing slot corner. That's because he's an insane cover player. I mean, he's awesome. I think he'll be a great Mike in this league. And the fact that they don't need pass rush in Cleveland at all. They got 3 insane guys in the front. They've got obviously Garrett. They got Clowney. And they got I'm blanking on the name, but I like the Mazuka they drafted last season. Defensive tackle. He was one of my guys last season. Instead of blanking on his name. I really like him as a D tackle. And then they're going to get JOK. He's going to just solidify the middle of their defense, give a solid presence. Best player available, in my opinion. And he's going to start from day one. He's a high floor because of his coverage. He'll have a spot on any team. JOK is a great player. I love JOK. Moving on, 27 Ravens. It's no secret they also need a receiver. Their receiving core is really, really poor. That's why I'm taking Terrence Marshall Jr. out of LSU. He was the third guy on that championship team, came back from injury, played really well down the stretch. But it's going to be pretty easy when you have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase next to you. But this season, he stepped up as the number one guy. He has a rare blend of height and speed. He's 6'3", with the sub 440, just terrific. He's got a great catch radius. He's an elite red zone target because of that. 23 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. And he thrives in the middle of the field. Slant routes, crossing routes, comebacks, just anything, posts. Over the middle of the field, he's great. He's a reliable chain mover. He can play slot. He played predominantly slot this season now that Justin Jefferson was out. But last season, he played outside. Was able to play and dominate out there. He's a reliable chain mover. I think he's going to be a great fit in Baltimore, just be reliable out with the Lamar Jackson, kind of like how he uses the tight end. Wow, that's not great. I'm blanking on his name out of Oklahoma. But he can be a reliable player. Mark Andrews, that is. He will be a reliable player for them. Chain mover, reliable. Not like a Hollywood Brown who can't touch the field half the time because he's injured or just too fast. I mean, someone that you're going to be relying on more often and being a consistent target. And that's why I have Terrence Marshall here. So moving on to my New Orleans Saints, Jalen Waddle. Now, you might think that I've rigged this pick. Oh, top 3 receiver falling to the Saints. You're a Saints fan. This is rigged. Believe me, I don't like speed receivers. I don't like speed receivers. I've got a couple of qualms with them. First of all is availability. There's always an injury. Always an injury with speed receivers. I mean, Tyreek Hill was even out this season. I mean, there's always, the speed receivers always hurt. Jalen Reagor. Just look at them. If you're fast, you're hurt. John Ross. The list goes on and on. That's one of the reasons why there hasn't been a guy who ran sub 4.3, like a pure speed guy, who's gone over 1,000 yards in the last 3, 4, 5 years. Tyreek Hill's the only one. And you don't chase the outlier. So that's why I don't like speed receivers. That's why I had Henry Ruggs lower last season. And I think I was very justified to have Henry Ruggs because they not a top 5 receiver last season. I think that showed last season. Another thing is consistency. You're not going to use them on a consistent basis. They're going to rely on 1 or 2 big plays a game. And those big plays are hugely valuable. But I like someone who's going to be able to move the chains, keep drives alive as my top receiver. I don't think having a top-tier speed guy is very healthy for an offense unless you are Tyreek Hill. And in that case, you're an outlier. You're a special player. And he didn't go in the first round. He was a late-round pick because you can find speed guys. They're pretty replaceable. I mean, there's a lot of really good speed guys in this draft class that we'll get to. Jalen Darden, De'Ami Brown. I mean, Tutu Atwell. There's a lot of speed guys. it's not a very valuable position in my opinion, and each team only really needs one of them. But where Jalen Wallace separates himself and why I have him still as a first-round receiver, even though he's not, I don't like speed receivers, is because he is great in the contested situations. He can, for a fast guy, he can be aggressive and play with tenacity. And as well as that, he goes from a pass catcher to a runner immediately. Like that transition from catching the ball to going down the field as a runner is immediate. And he is dynamic that way. And I think that makes him a valuable player. But as you saw, he's injury prone. And he didn't play a lot last season because of an injury. And I think he's very replaceable. So you look at even a guy like Deontay Harris, other guy, very injury prone, but he can play the same role. The reason I have the Saints taking Jalen Waddle at the spot, there's no top corner. The top 4 guys are gone. There's no top linebacker. The top 3 guys are gone. There's no quarterback. The top 6 are gone. There's no the top 5 receivers are gone, in my opinion. So positional needs, they're not there for the Saints. You could look at safety. I wouldn't pick one this early. Maybe want to trade back, but here probably just best player available. He'll fit in nicely as a number 2 receiver, not number 1. That's a big distinction. And especially in Sean Payton's offense, Jalen Waddle would be exceptional. So I make an exception for my speed receiver guy. Jalen Waddle is probably the best receiver I've ever seen coming out, but he's not even that fast. He ran the 4.4s, I think, or 4.3s. So he's not even as fast as Henry Ruggs, but he's a special guy. He can kill after the catch, and he makes something out of nothing. So much as I don't like speed receivers, Jalen Waddle is a solid pick, and he's not as good. He's not a top 3 receiver in this draft class. I just want to say that Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore are better. Terrace Marshall is arguable, but Elijah Moore is certainly better than him. That's just my opinion. Moving on, Green Bay Packers, Christian Barmore. I don't know why I always put an A between Barmore. For some reason, I don't know. He's dominant. He graded out as the top pass rush defensive end in this draft class and in last draft class, better than Javon Kinlaw and Derek Brown. Dominant. And that was in an all SEC schedule. Like, he played a more difficult schedule than those guys did too. In the playoff, he looked like the most dominant player. It's not a very needy positional team, or not a very valuable position at defensive interior, but he is the best in this draft class by a mile. He's awesome. There's not much more to say about him. I think he's a top 25, top 20 player, but positional value doesn't help him a lot. But he can be great. There's not a corner, there's not a receiver available that's worth taking at this point. So might as well go best player available, that's Christian Barmore. And as well as that, the Packers' run D isn't good. I mean, they got toasted by the Niners 2 years ago. They don't have a great run D. Kenny Clark is a great pass rusher. I mean, Barmore may not be as good as a run defender as he is as a pass rusher, but he still had a defensive run stop rate of 9.5%. So still really good. So he can help that issue out immediately. So good pick for them. Pick 30, Jason Oweh, Penn State. Just like Kwity Paye, he's a freakish athlete, but doesn't have the same level of production. But he's still very productive. That's why he's very close to Kwity Paye, but Kwity Paye is just a better player. So Oweh he ranks the 99th percentile of edge defenders athletically. He does have some strength issues. He's not as strong as Kwity Paye is, but I think he's really, really solid. And you can mold him. He's a mold. He can bust, but he can also boom. He's a swing for the fences kind of guy. But what separates him from like a guy like Rashawn Gary is, despite his low sack numbers, always still graded out as a very productive player. Like, very productive. Like 20+% pass rush win rate. Disruptive. I mean, he can get stalled out a lot. Like, he's either productive or nothing. Like, he doesn't have an in-between. He's not just disruptive, but sometimes pushing a tackle back. He's either stonewalled or he's stonewalling someone else. So that's a little bit annoying. So he can get bullied sometimes, but with the right coaching developing his pass rush skill set, unlike Kwity Paye, who's been developing more consistently as a technician, Jason Oweh has a lot more work to do. But with the right coaching, especially with Sean McDermott and this offense and this defense in Buffalo, their coaching staff is great. I think he can make a huge difference and a big leap. So I would think that'd be a good pick for them. Defensive end is probably the biggest need on this team. Their offense is great. Running back is the issue, but not a obviously position of value. So moving on, the Ravens, the pick they got from the Chiefs, they can either go tackle here to replace Orlando Brown Jr., but what I have them doing is taking someone who I think is very Baltimore, and they always do great in drafting. And I see this guy as being like a Baltimore day 2 pick, but I really like this guy. Milton Williams, defensive tackle from Louisiana Tech. Now, when I say he is a similar athlete to Aaron Donald, I don't want you to just think that's some shock jock take. I mean, his testing numbers are ridiculous. And just so you don't think I'm just making that up, let me pull them up for you because they are exceptional. He is 91st percentile in every single metric. 34 bench reps, 6.873 kill. That's the best of any defensive tackle. 4.640, 99th percentile. Shuttle of 4.25, 98th percentile. 39 vertical from 6'3", 280 guy, 99th percentile. Broad jump, 121, 97th percentile. That's ridiculous. His testing metrics are off the charts. But he wasn't just like some athlete playing defensive tackle. He was productive. And he has shown year-on-year improvement every season. Last season, he was the highest graded defensive tackle coming out. So of the tackles coming out this season, he was the highest in productivity. I know he had a lower level competition. He's got BYU, UTSA, UAB, North Texas, TCU. Like just not a lot of tough competition. And when in the best game against BYU, he had his worst game pretty heavily. But 13 sacks in the last 2 seasons, 6 sacks and 400 attempts this season with a pass rush win rate of 22%, run stop rate of 8.7. He has elite testing numbers everywhere. Production, athleticism. This is the kind of guy the Ravens take. They buy low, sell high, or not even sell. They just let him walk and get a compensatory pick and get another player of the same value. So I can see this guy being someone who the Ravens pick in the 3rd round, plays incredibly well for them, let him go. He gets paid somewhere else, and they get a 3rd round pick and compensatory pick for him. So great formula that the Ravens have going for them. I love his talent. I think he's a 1st round pick. I think he's going to turn out to be one of the best defensive tackles in this draft class because he's just a special player that way. Moving on, last pick, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They don't have a lot of holes in their roster, but their weakest position is probably safety. The player next to, obviously, Antoine Winfield Jr. is not the best. I don't know who their current safety is. I looked up a second ago, obviously, when I was doing the draft rankings. I can't take off the top of my head, but I'll look it up for you. But I have them taking Andre Cisco out of Syracuse. He has star power because he could be the best safety in this class easily. It's Jordan Whitehead. Sorry, I picked the name. So it's Jordan Whitehead is the other safety next to Antoine Winfield. Winfield can be the great strong safety, and Cisco can be a great free safety because he is rangy, athletic, like best athlete of any of the safeties in this draft class by a mile. But he's a roller coaster. He will have all the production. 26 pass breakups, interceptions in 24 games. I mean, those are elite numbers. He is the most productive player in this draft class. But the problem is that he's not productive because he's just running around the field trying to be everywhere. He's trying to do everything with the defense. He didn't have a great defensive scheme in Syracuse, but he kind of freelanced a little bit too much, doing his own thing, kind of like an independent contractor on the field. But he looked great in the UNC game, picked off Sam Howell. And that's a tough team. Giambi Brown, Daz Newsome, Michael Carter, Javonte Williams. I mean, Sam Howell. I mean, that's an incredible team. He's a roller coaster. He's either making a mistake or being incredible. I think with the right coaching on this team, he can come in and just be awesome. I mean, he's an awesome player. I think coming in next to Antoine Winfield, I mean, he will be awesome. So he'll just flat out be awesome. So that's the end of the 1st round. Let's get into the 2nd a little bit quicker here. We're not going to go into much detail, but I just want to analyze the player. I don't want to talk much about the team or the fit or the choice. Just go by the player. Jacksonville Jaguars, Walker Little. I mean, didn't play last season, opted out. I think he also got hurt. Half a team in 2 years. When we did see him, his last 7 games, he allowed 1 pressure, I think. 1 pressure in his last 7 games. He's taken the last 2 years to develop. We don't know what he's at right now, but he has the potential to be a really good player. The Jaguars need any help on the offensive line they can get. I like Jawan Taylor a lot, but Cam Robinson's not great. I think you pair some with Jawan Taylor. Jawan Taylor was one of my favorite players coming out of the draft. Pair him with Walker Little. You got a solid tackle group for any quarterback you got coming in. Jets at 34, Najee Harris, finally coming off. He's the best receiver prospect in this draft class. He is an incredible receiver. He's also incredibly strong. He's 6'2". He's built like Derrick Henry, but he doesn't play as physical as him because he's not as big, not as strong. But your one concern with him is his speed. But in college, he ran away from defenders, and I think that even though he might run a 4.6 and he opted out of running this season, I think he's still a really incredible player, and that he is consistent in the run game, dominant in the run game sometimes, and he's an incredible receiver. Being the best receiver makes him a great value. The Jets need a running back, and with Tevin Jenkins allegedly in my mock draft and Mekhi Becton, he's gonna have a lot of holes in his offensive line to run free. 35, Atlanta Falcons, Kelvin Joseph, cornerback out of Kentucky. He's kind of a prospect, kind of another guy where you're betting on his potential, what he could be, because he runs like sub 4.340. He played well against Alabama. He has solid production, but he's just a more toolsy guy. In the corner position, you're going to look for those toolsy guys because the tools are what makes you good corners. As I said, you need to have speed to be a good corner. You can't technique not going to get you everywhere. That's why Jeff Okudah wasn't great coming out as a rookie, and that's why other guys did better. You're going to look like a guy like Marshon Lattimore. He's fast. He's incredibly athletic, and that's why he's a great corner. He's got the great mentality as well. Kelvin Joseph has that speed, sub 4.40, solid production. You're just going to look what he could be. And the Falcons need a cornerback, just a good fit there. Miami Dolphins, Trayvon Merrick out of TCU. He's a lot of people's top safety, and there's good reasons why. He's very productive. I think he's one of the highest in total production output in terms of PPUs and interceptions the last 2 seasons. I think he's slightly ahead of Cisco because Cisco had an ACL injury last season, but he's incredibly productive. He's rangy. He's quick. Just a great player. I think Trayvon Merrick is a really, really, really solid player. So moving on, we have Philadelphia Eagles taking Asante Samuel Jr. Quarterback is a big need for them. And Asante Samuel Jr. can play outside. He can play in slot. Slot's a very valuable position nowadays in the NFL. And he's going to be solid. Like Patrick Surtain's got a really high floor. He's going to come in and be a really great player. Bengals, Samuel Cosmi out of Texas, the offensive lineman. He graded out exceptionally well. I think he probably is going to be better than Dillon Radunz. I kind of regret having them in that order. I might have them flipped in my draft rankings after the draft. But Sam Cosmi coming in, solidifying your offensive tackle group, maybe play him at either tackle position, maybe a guard, maybe move around Jonah Williams. But anyway, get your mark, get a tackle, you're set. Sam Cosmi's a really good player. 39, Alex Leatherwood, same deal. You got Kyle Pitts in the first. You're going to need offensive lineman. Leatherwood's played more of a guard at the NFL level, but he can play tackle. You're going to need him. Play him at left tackle, play him at right tackle. They've already got Taylor Mouton, so they're not going to play him at right tackle. Play him at left tackle, play him at guard. You're offensive line help with Sam Darnold. Get some help. Good pick. Denver Broncos at 40. I'm going to have him taking Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky. Freak athlete. 4.3 40-ish, just freakish athlete. He's rangy. He's great in coverage. Another guy you're betting on his potential. He can be really, really good. So I think that's someone that you're going to bank on his potential. And I wouldn't be too upset if someone did. Next up, this is another interesting one. People may not agree with this one because I'm very high on him. I have Sage Surratt out of Wake Forest. So he is someone who's just physical. He's a bully. He's one of the most physical receivers in the entire draft class. Just bullies guys at the catch point. He's like Ja'Marr Chase if Ja'Marr Chase wasn't as fast as he is. He's like slow Ja'Marr Chase, exactly. And he was the West Virginia offense. When he got hurt, the entire offense went down. So he beats you with physicality, he beats you at the catch point, and in a team he can really thrive and he can be like a late round pick, like a Michael Thomas, who was slept on because of his size, but thrives because of his physicality. I don't think he'll be that level of player, but I really like Sage Surratt as a player. His Senior Bowl was solid in the drills, but without the connection with his quarterback, the physicality really relies on that quarterback to receiver connection. That's why Drew Brees is so special with Thomas. So I think it's going to be a good player. I really like Sage Surratt. he was the offense. 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns at Wake Forest last than 2 seasons ago. He did opt out last season, so we didn't see that development. But he's a really solid player. He's great at every level of the field. I really like him, but he might just end up being a slot guy. I think he can play outside though because of his physicality. I really like him. Really like this draft. 42, New York Giants, Landon Dickerson, double up. I mentioned, you talked about the offensive line, whoever plays center. Well, here's your center, best center in the class, first round talent. You're just worried about the injury coming out. But other than that, he is just a terrific offensive line prospect. He can easily go in the first round, wouldn't be surprised, wouldn't be mad. Be a good pick. I think he can recover from the injury, he'll be fine. Great player. Make that offensive line stellar. Moving on, we have Eric Stokes out of Georgia. Another guy like Kelvin Joseph, toolsy, but also fairly productive in college. You're going to bank on that potential, bank on his skills as a cornerback. That's the one position that you really want to bank on early with athleticism over production is corner, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Eric Stokes, 4.34, 4.40, really, really great athlete. Moving on, 44, Dallas Cowboys, Azeez Ojulari. No, I had him as my third edge defender in this draft class, but I've moved him down considerably, considering they found a degenerative lower leg issue at the medical combine. Really scary thought for me. Degenerative leg issue sounds really, really bad. And this just seems like a Todd Gurley kind of situation. Maybe he has no cartilage in his knee or something. That seems more worrying, at least to me, than I know it might sound a bit crazy, but that seems a bit more concerning to me than Caleb Farley or Jalen Phillips' injury right now. Moving on, Levi Onwuzurike out of Washington. He opted out this season. I have him going to Jacksonville at 45. So far, Bryant was a bust. The defensive tackle they drafted a couple of years ago in the first round. Onwuzurike opted out this season, as I mentioned, but he is very productive as a pass rusher. He can be really good in this draft class. I think this is around his value, maybe a little bit earlier, but I really like Onwuzurike. I think he can be a good player in this draft class. But as I mentioned, defensive tackle is not a great positional value. 46, Divine Diablo. Now, he's a safety coming out of Virginia Tech, but from what I've heard, from he said, he's going to be converted to a linebacker. With the coverage skills that he possessed, he was a good cover safety. Moving into linebacker and taking advantage of his huge size, I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". I think he's really going to be a good player. Put him in the role kind of like a Kyle Duggar-ish. I really like the player. I think the fit's really good. And I think that this is going to be a scary good pick, and he can play safety too. So positional versatility, Patriots defense, love that. Atlanta Falcons, Elijah Molden, safety out of Washington. At worst, he's a really good slot corner. And you can't understate the value of a good slot corner. And you can also play safety for you. Really solid safety, really solid slot corner. Just solid. Moving on, Vegas Raiders. I haven't taken De'Ami Brown out of UNC. He's a really good receiver. I like De'Ami Brown. Good at the catch point. A little bit more of a deep threat guy, but in the second round, I think that's kind of where you find your deep threat guys. De'Ami Brown runs 4.4, kind of not as fast as you thought he ran on tape, but he's got really good playing field, and he can play. He can get you some intermediate passing game as well. I like De'Ami Brown. I think you could be able to see more of his potential because he wasn't really given the opportunity to play the intermediate passing game at UNC. And the Raiders, they need receiver help desperately. I mean, it's not going to cut it when you have Bryan Edwards and just a speed guy and Ruggs. So I think they really need someone. I think De'Ami Brown's probably the best receiver available at this point. Arizona Cardinals, Tyson Campbell. Really good game speed, lackluster film speed, kind of like a De'Ami Brown the same way. Kind of like the De'Ami Brown of cornerbacks, in my opinion. He's not as toolsy as Stokes is, and he had some lapses in coverage at sometimes. But he played solid against Alabama despite him slipping and giving up a big touchdown. But that's down to technique. I think that big positional need at corner for the Cardinals, they didn't address it in the first round. Tyson Campbell's really going to help here. Pick 50, Quinn Maneras out of Wisconsin Whitewater. He's a center prospect, and he's the second best center in this class without a doubt. He is awesome. He's a people mover. I mean, he's a fun watch. I think in this system, he'll really help establish a connection with Tua, solidify that offensive line. They're moving Hunt to guard, so maybe they look for a tackle at this spot. But Quinn Manares is the best player available and positional need. Moving on, 51 Minnesota Vikings. They got this pick in the trade back. When the football team went up to get Kellen Mond, they're going to get Joseph Asai. He is kind of like a lower tier away. He is great athlete, just an incredible athlete. So I think that you're going to look at him and bank on that athleticism. But he also has really solid production, like really underrated production. I think he's going to be a really good player. I really like Joseph Asai, the edge out of Texas. Kendrick Green, Illinois, to the Chicago Bears, the guard. I really like him a lot. I think this is a need for the team, and he's got great. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about with Kendrick Green. I mean, he just has really great explosiveness from the guard position. Didn't give up a sack last season. I wouldn't hope so for a interior offensive lineman, but graded out as one of the best pass protectors in this entire draft class. And his athletic testing numbers are pretty solid. 99th percentile for 40-yard dash, 99th percentile for vertical, and 100th percentile for a broad jump. Athletic, explosive. I think he could be a really good guard in this league. I really like him. Moving on, 53, Tennessee Titans take Jabril Cox to pair him with their pretty solid linebacking core. I mean, it's not perfectly strong, but I really like Jaylen Brown. So pairing him with someone like Jabril Cox is a really, really good cover guy. Great cover linebacker, can't understand the value of that. So I think it's a no-brainer here. I think Jabril Cox is a good fit. Moving on, we have Peyton Turner of Houston, and I really like Peyton Turner. He's gotten some comps to Cam Jordan because he's just got really great bend, and he's really good in the running game. 99th percentile 3-cone, just really exemplifying that bend. I mean, that's 6'7". Think about Quiddy Hay at a 6'5", allegedly. What the heck? He's also really explosive, good shuttle run, good vertical jump. He was very productive. Run stop rate of 10.4% is really, really great. He's got really long arms, the 90th percentile, and his motor is just unrelenting. So I think that he has great potential, and I think he's productive, athletic. I really, really, really like this fit. So good fit here. I think he's an underrated prospect in this draft class. So moving on, Michael Carter to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get their running back, not Javonte, not Travis Etienne, Michael Carter. So I watched a lot of UNC film. I watched a lot of it because I couldn't decide which one I liked more. Well, actually, I could decide. I just couldn't believe it. I watched Michael Carter. He's more consistent as a runner. He's very, very great after the contact. He's elusive, and he just seems more consistent overall on a down-to-down basis running the ball. He's also got more explosiveness in his running game. He more often breaks away and gets a bigger run. Like you'll see, like whichever running back has more yards. I mean, both of them are the top 5 of every metric offensively as running backs. I mean, they're both incredible, but the one thing Javonte has is elusiveness, and Michael Carter's not that far behind. Michael Carter is a really, really good prospect, and in this system, I think he's going to be really good. I wouldn't want to have a finesse guy like Javonte. I kind of want a little bruiser. I want my Michael Carter. Michael Carter will get you consistent yardage. He's awesome. I'm a big Michael Carter fan. So I think these top 4 running backs are really good, but I think Carter stands out from the rest of the available running backs in that department. Seattle Seahawks, Ronnie Perkins out of Oklahoma. I mean, another really solid player. I mean, he tested out and graded exceptionally well in college. Some of the highest run stop grades and pass rush grades in the league. 15% run stop percentage, 15.7 run stop percentage, and a 25% pass rush win rate. Elite production from him, and not to mention he's just strong. He's not as athletic as a Peyton Turner is, but his production is insane. Even though he's a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, I really like his production, and I think that production at least is going to translate at least to being a really good run defender, and I think he could be a good pass rusher. So he may not have the physical tools, but he's got the production, and I really like that about players. Maybe more like I forget a type of Titus Ferguson, the guy out of Louisiana Tech, the Ravens drafted 2 years ago, number 45. I think that's his name. I really liked him coming out. I think Perkins could have a similar level of production in the NFL. 57, Los Angeles Rams. I have been taking Nick Bolton, linebacker of Missouri. Linebacker's a big need for this team, and Bolton is a linebacker. He's got the linebacker mentality. Really fun to watch, but yeah, he's fun. He's a really good linebacker, like a traditional linebacker. He doesn't have the athleticism as some of the other guys, like a Jamin Davis or a JOK or Parsons, or the coverage ability of someone like Zaven Collins, but he's just a solid linebacker, and that's why I have him here. And he doesn't have the intriguing abilities as Divine Diablo as a linebacker. So Nick Bolton, he's a solid linebacker. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a high floor player. Moving on, 58, I have the Chiefs taking Aleem McNeil, the big boy at NC State. He will solidify their run D just because he can two-gap with the best of them. He's just a big player. Pair him with Chris Jones, that's a deadly combo. The pass rush, run stop ability, I think they complement each other really well. He's not just a run stopper. He's a really good pass rusher as well. I think this is a great fit here, a great pick. Now moving on, 59, Cleveland Browns taking Carlos Basham Jr. Basham, Clowney's not an every down defender, so I think he and Basham have an interesting rotation on the outside. I think this could be an interesting fit overall. Basham's had 3 years of good production at Wake Forest. A little bit of a dip this season, but he improved every game of the season. Best game of the season at the end of the season against UNC. I mean, he's just got great power. He's got explosiveness. His athletic testing is really solid. 80th percentile in most categories. He's got solid weight. I think he's just a good, solid defender. And they can come in and complement this defense. You can't kick him inside. He's a little bit too small for that. Maybe you might want to go with someone else if you want to have some more versatility there. Maybe it wasn't the best pick, but I think it's a really, really solid pick. Moving on, we've got a Fedo Melifonwu out of Syracuse. So Syracuse had a really good secondary this season, but just surprisingly, weren't able to produce just a really poor scheme. Melifonwu's got really rare acceleration. He's got a 10-yard split of 1.4 seconds, 95th percentile. And that's the thing you really want to see from your corners, that makeup speed, the ability to accelerate, to be able to get back in coverage. Acceleration is really, really important for a corner. He's also got great vertical, 42-inch vertical, 97th percentile, and 134 broad jump. He's also strong. He's got solid speed. I mean, Melifonwu's got it all. Size, athleticism. He's got the potential to be a really good player. He had solid production in college, but he does not a lot of experience using press, and I mean, he doesn't play like he's 6'2", so that'd be really the only concern that you'd have with him. But he does have the size, he has the tools. I think for the Saints, who needs corner, I'd be very happy for her to get Melifonwu in the second round, and whoever in the first round doesn't really matter. Melifonwu would be a great pick in the second round for the Saints, considering positional need, considering that's really your only glaring hole going into the season. Melifonwu can fill that, and he can fill in for Lattimore, because Lattimore always gets hurt in the season. So cornerback's a big priority, best one available. Melifonwu, very happy with that pick. Moving on, Buffalo Bills, I haven't taken Pat Freiermuth. Freiermuth is a really interesting prospect at tight end. I mean, he is a good blocker. I mean, he very solid. He had a 30% target share. Like, he was the Penn State's offense. I mean, he was exceptional in the receiving game. I mean, he's also good in contested catch situations. He's not a game-breaking athleticism. You don't have his testing numbers, but his end-game speed isn't great. But he can really hurt over the middle of the field. Like, that's it. That's his strength. He's good from the inline. He's a good inline receiver. Obviously, there's a big gap between him and Kyle Pitts, but don't discredit Pat Freiermuth. I think he can be a better upgrade on Dawson Knox. Have a little bit of they like to use a little bit of dueling tight ends in Buffalo. I think Pat Freiermuth would be a really good fit there. At 62, I've got the Green Bay Packers taking Kadarius Toney out of Florida. Now, Toney is an interesting prospect. Great after the catch, great speed, dynamic. As I said, don't love speed guys, but Toney is very fun. He's just exceptional after the catch. Would be a great fit for this offense. A little change of pace from all their big guys they have. I mean, Scantling and St. Brown are all like 6'4" ish. I mean, he's just gonna be a quick guy underneath, over the top, just really help this offense. And if Rodgers is gonna stay, I mean, Kadarius Toney's gonna help. I don't know. I mean, obviously the news just broke that Rodgers is not incredibly happy with the Green Bay, but Kadarius Toney will help any quarterback. But maybe he'll help Rodgers stay. Don't know. Kansas City Chiefs at 63. Jalen Darden. Wow, Jalen Darden. I think that it's interesting because if you look at Jalen, speed guy, you're not going to really necessarily think that the Chiefs already got two of them. Or they need another. It's the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the outlier. They can. Mahomes is so incredibly deadly and accurate and awesome that Jalen Darden can be an awesome fit in this scheme. And he is. Oh my God, Jalen Darden would be ridiculous. Ridiculous. I can't comprehend how awesome it would be. He had a 91 rating against man coverage. The Chiefs only faced man coverage. And they faced a lot of man coverage. But they also faced a lot of zone coverage because nobody could cover Tyreek Hill man. So they faced a lot of both. The zone coverage seems to be their weakness. Teams are probably figuring that out a little bit. But he's great. He 4.3 yards per route run. Just exceptional. After he's just levels of shifty after the catch is just an understatement because he had 23 missed tackles. I mean, ridiculous. He could be a really good slot receiver for this team. He can work underneath. He can work in the middle of the field, but he mainly works on the sidelines with that speed, with the exceptional ability. Great deep catch receiver, great slot guy. Jalen Darden is kind of like your poor man's Elijah Moore. Not as great hands. He doesn't play up to his size like Elijah Moore does, but he's got great quicks. His shuttle run is 97th percentile. His three cones 93rd percentile. It just really shows his quicks, his acceleration. He's just shifty. I really like him a lot. Jalen Darden would be just awesome in this offense. Moving on, we got Patrick Johnson out of Tulane going to the Bucks at 64. Now he's someone that can win with speed. He's a 4.5 kind of guy, probably more 4.6. He's 6'6", which is really impressive, but a little undersized for his frame. If he can fill out, maybe become a little more of a more well-rounded pass rusher. But he's a pass rusher. He's not great in the run game, but he's got a 19% pass rush win rate. Grades out as a really effective pass rusher. He's got quick hands. He wins with speed, and that's what he does. And he's fast. So he just continues this really athletic defensive end class, and I think that he can be a good fit in this defense, become a sub-rotational guy, coming on third down, just be incredibly quick and disruptive. So I think he'd be a really good third down fit for this defense. That's the second round done. We're not done. We got third round to go. We only got that draft in 38 minutes, and I got to edit this and upload this, but yeah, we're doing third round. We're not going to go quick, though. Jamar Johnson, safety in Indiana, productive, great cover guy. Not a great tackle. That's not what you're asking him to do. Good cover guy. Jack will need a safety. 66, Jets, Nico Collins. Big physical guy. I was watching the tape on Chris Evans, the running back there, and I like Nico Collins more. I mean, he just stood out watching film. What he does is just contested catch guy. He's criminally underutilized in that offense. With Zach Wilson, that'd be a deadly combo. With Trevor Lawrence, would be a deadly combo. I don't care. Nico Collins would be a perfect fit. Houston Texans. What's their first pick? Hooray. They're finally here. They made it to the party after sending the entire life savings to Miami. This is a New York Nets king level bad deal. I mean, it's awful. But I think Jonathan Cooper, Ohio State edge. I mean, guys at Ohio State are typically very, very solid. Like, they're going to be well coached coming out. And I mean, Jonathan Cooper is not any exception. Now, just like a Patrick Johnson, he's going to be a pass rusher. He is most definitely not a run stuffer. 20% pass rush win rate compared to a 4% run stop rate. Just levels of production in the pass rush is just not even close to what he can do with the run game. Played exceptionally well. Graded us one of the top 10 edge rushers last season. 3 sacks, 8 hits, 22 hurries. Just disruptive, and that's what he was. He's very refined coming out of Ohio State, and I think he's going to be a pretty solid player. The Texans have a lot of holes, and he can be very helpful for them. 68, the Falcons, Javonte Williams. They need a running back desperately. Javonte is the shiftiest guy in this draft class. Incredibly elusive. Most broken tackles of any running back in this class. Very effective. Played a great tandem with Michael Carter. But having the sole workload will be interesting to see. He's not very explosive. He's quick, but he's not going to maximize plays. He's probably going to get caught at the NFL level, but very, very good player. Javonte Williams is awesome. I love Javonte Williams, but running back not an incredibly viable position. He's definitely a second-round prospect, but I just didn't see a lot of teams that were needy of a running back and didn't have some other position of need that they needed more. Because you can probably get a really good running back. There's a lot of good running backs in this draft. Like I've got a lot of crushes in the running back room. Like it's not a great running back class, but I mean there's deep. There's a lot of guys that you can work with here. So Javonte going to the Falcons 68. 69 to the Bengals, Creed Humphrey. Slid by the offensive line. Creed is anything. He's consistent, athletic, he's experienced. Just be a great player in this offense. Great for their zone running scheme with Zach Taylor. I mean, Mixon will be loving this pick. I mean, he hasn't had any separation. 2 offensive linemen in one class. Burrow is going to love this class if this happened. 70, Justin Hilliard, linebacker to Philadelphia. He's torn both biceps. He's got 3 torn muscles, but of any linebacker drafted late, he has the potential to be the best sneaky pick of the linebackers. He can be really special with his ability, his talent. I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, if you watch that Rutgers game, he was just exceptional. He's great at the run game. He's great in coverage. He's a solid tackler. He's got great balance. I mean, he's also got some great violence. You're just going to worry about, and you love violence, the linebacker position. That's a position that you just want to be careless, reckless. You don't want to have any regard for your body, and he clearly doesn't because he's been hurt a lot. So it's a little bit of his issue, but he's violent. He plays the linebacker position like a linebacker, and he's great in all 3 facets of the game. He's well-rounded, versatile, and if he can come together and put it together, I think he can be a really good player. 71, Travis Etienne, really great receiver. Not the best in the class, not great speed, but he's a really, really solid player. He can be just a phenomenal player for this team, be a great pairing with Melvin Gordon, but he doesn't have those. His production dipped with the offensive line decreasing after the season. When the workload increased, he was all right. He's just a really solid running back. He's in that top 4 tier, but he's at the bottom of it in my opinion, and he's just not that. I mean, he's a second-round player. I think he's definitely a second-round player. I think third round's a little bit harsh right here, but as I said with Javonte, I just really see someone in the second round. The teams have a running back need to have so many other holes right now that either it's going to be a team that's not an obvious running back destination that's going to pick him, or someone that just loves his talent so much. So a little bit low here, but Travis Etienne's a really good player. But I don't think he's as good as the UNC guys. I definitely don't think he's as good as Najee Harris. 72, Detroit Lions, Gregory Rousseau. Some people have him as a first-round player. For me, he's just too stiff for that. He's not doesn't have any bend. A little bit of just not versatile as a defensive player. He's got a lot of work to do. I think the Detroit Lions are definitely the team that has the time to let him develop. But I don't think he's worth a first-round pick. I think this is kind of a more accurate spot for where his talents go. So that's where I have Gregory Rousseau going. Probably not a little harsh, but I think it's fair. 73, Carolina Panthers, Richie Grant. Really, really just solid safety at UCF. Not a lot of complaints you can have with Richie Grant. Just solid player. There's not much to say about him. I'll give you more analysis about these guys after the draft. Just 30 minutes before the draft. Got to edit this all. Okay. crazy. Moving on. Monty Rice going to the football team. I really like this bit. This is Monty Rice is one of my. I like these linebackers deep. This is a very deep linebacker class. At least going to the third round. Um, After that, maybe it falls off a little bit. But I think until the third round, there's a lot of good linebackers. He's a very well-rounded, like Justin Hilliard is. He's very secure tackler, and that's what you want as a linebacker. He's got some really, really great athletic testing. 4.5 40, 1.5 10-yard split. I mean, he's got speed. He's a great tackler. He's well-rounded. Just a solid linebacker. I really like him. I think he could be a great fit in the football team. Dallas Cowboys, Kerry Vincent Jr. on LSU corner. I really slept on corner. I like Kerry Vincent a lot. Obviously, he's an LSU fan, a little bit of a homer. He's just consistent, I would say. I mean, he plays very well, and you can rely on him as a slot corner. He had a pass rating of 68 last season. Very impressed, very stingy. Didn't give up a whole lot of yards. 3 touchdowns allowed, 4 picks. You love seeing that ratio. I mean, he's got his tools as well. He's got 4.3, 4.38 40, and that's just all I care about. Speed, cornerback position. He's got some production. He's got some athleticism. A little bit average size, 5'10". Would have liked to see him a little bit bigger or a little bit faster, but he's got some tools that I think could be really good. 76 for Sean Weaver out of Pittsburgh. I've been hearing first round stuff by him, so I don't know if I'm right about my evaluation. I didn't see it necessarily on tape, but I could definitely be wrong. I'm not great at evaluating edge defenders, but what I know about him is he's just not explosive. I mean, he played really well. I mean, he was incredibly productive last season. But so again, a lot of these defensive input, I think that this is a really good edge class in my opinion. He's got a really high floor, but I just don't think his ceiling is going to be that high, considering that his intangibles are all most of them are in the 30th, 40th percentiles. He's got average size. He can't kick inside because I think he'd probably play better inside just because his tools aren't great. But a 21% pass rush win rate and 75% run stop rate is just really solid. But he just doesn't have explosiveness, and I mean he's just consistent with his technique, but he just didn't stand out. And I feel like his stats looked a little bit overinflated. Like when I saw his pass rush win rate, I could have been just the games that I watched, but I watched the Notre Dame game just because it was a really offensive tackle game. I watched the Virginia Tech game just because I wanted to see him against the best competition. I just didn't see it when he went against the best players, especially against Darrisaw and that offensive line. I just didn't see it. And he played outside tackle a lot. He played on Darrisaw's side. He just got. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it from the production seemed a bit overinflated in my opinion. A 77 Rondale Moore. I feel bad about this. This is just such a good receiver group. Very deep. He's definitely a second round guy. He never really recovered from that injury. He's still explosive, but he's not as explosive as he was in that freshman season where he just dominated Ohio State. You see the tape. I think he's a really good receiver. I mean, I have him as my receiver number. He's a little bit low actually. I have my receiver number 12, but I just like the receiver class really. I just like him a lot. So he's gonna be a guided player at the next level, most likely. But I don't think the Chargers really care. He'd be awesome in the system. They've made guys like Jalen Guyton look really good with Justin Herbert. Rondale Moore, no exception. Moving on, 78. It's Minnesota Vikings with Liam Eichenberg. Eichenberg has been touted as maybe a late first, maybe early second round tackle. I think he's going to take the switch to guard and be a really awesome guard. And they're just going to double up on the Vera Tuckers because this is a poor man's Vera Tucker. He can play on the tackle, but I think his natural position is going to be playing as a guard. And they're just going to get some more versatility in the offensive line. I think it's a really good pick. 79 Vegas Raiders, Javon Holland. Javon Holland, I think he's my safety number 4 or 5. Actually, he's number 6. I think Javon Holland's a really good player. We didn't see him last season because he opted out. He's MGJ's best defensive player overall, so that's fun. He just nothing is just exceptional. It's just athleticism is just not there. He's just a really solid player. Middling athleticism, but his production's really solid. So I know Dallas will be a solid safety in the league. I just don't think it's gonna be anything exceptional. He'll be there. You won't notice him on the field. He won't be on your screen as a safety, but he'll be there getting the job done. It's just a solid safety. Moving on, we've got Tommy Togia, defensive interior out of Ohio State. Now, Togia is an interesting player. He graded out exceptionally well, mainly as a run defender last season. Great athleticism too. Just defensive interior is not a great value position, but and this is why, because you can probably get a Tommy Togia like this in the third round and get a very productive player. Moving on, we got Amari Rogers out of Clemson going to the Dolphins. More help on the receiver positions. Amari Rogers is really, really just solid player. Just solid. I mean, he's going to get the job done. Like, he's going to be a productive player at the NFL level. I've got no concerns about that. Just solid pick. Moving on, Washington, Cade Johnson. I love Cade Johnson. I probably should have him higher. I really love him. Dominated the Senior Bowl. Like, she just got open. Separation was just incredible. Caught everything. He was just dominant. He's one of my sleeper receivers in this draft class. Let me compare where I have him compared to the consensus, because I think I'm quite high on Cade. I think Cade's one of my I'm 65 higher than him than the consensus. The consensus has him in the 130s, 140s. I have him at 78 on my big board. A big Cade Johnson fan. I think he's a really, really solid player. Moving on, 83, Jamie Newman. Newman is interesting because, because he's interesting. I think that if you look at him, he's definitely worth taking a flyer on because he's got the athleticism, but he opted out last season after transferring to Georgia. So we haven't been able to see what he can do. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from him, but obviously he opted out. But Senior Bowl, he's gotten laser for an arm. He's got athleticism, and he was productive in the ACC, but obviously when Sage Surratt got hurt, the offense really suffered. And he's worth taking a flyer on day two just because of that athleticism, just because of his he's got great, really good deep accuracy. He's just a poor man's Justin Fields. I think that opposite career arc, transferred to Georgia, never played though. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do. And I think the Chicago, Andy Dalton's a stopgap guy. Maybe Jimmy Newman can see what he can do. Maybe he impresses. I think it's definitely worth taking a flyer on, especially for a team like Chicago that needs to get a good quarterback in. So would love to see that happen. Now we've got the Philadelphia Eagles, Aaron Robinson. I've done up on corner with Asante, but this guy's going to be playing. I don't know. They just need help on corner. Aaron Robinson's probably BPA as well. Really just solid cornerback coming out of UCF. His athleticism is solid, 4.3, 940. Same mold of he's got some ability and some talent to succeed. He played mainly at the slot at the college level. 80% of his snaps were at the slot. He's also played a little bit of box, which is really interesting to see that. Really good run defender, just a good tackler. He allowed 101 pass rating this season, so nothing too impressive, but very solid. Moving on, Josh Palmer. He kind of beat up Surtain. He was the best player against Surtain this season. Played really well in the Senior Bowl as well. Another sleeper in the draft. I really like Josh Palmer. If you haven't watched Josh Palmer, give yourself the favor and go watch some. I have him 89 higher on my big board than the consensus. The consensus has him at resounding 171, which is really harsh. I think he's definitely a day two prospect in my opinion. I'm a big Josh Palmer fan. Moving on, we've got the New York Jets taking Tylan Wallace. So getting a receiver this time. So the Jets, I had to take a running back, a tackle, and a quarterback. Time to get some receiver help. Tylan Wallace, another guy who's really solid at the Senior Bowl. I was a big fan of his. I didn't hear much about him, But as I watched this film, I watched the 30 receivers, and it's not fun at all one day. So I think that he can be an interesting player. So he's played 3 years, really consistent production all 3 years. Solid versus man, solid versus zone. He's really explosive. You really only plays on the right side of the field, like just only the right side of the field at all, only right side. Um, he really good contested, 13 contested catches. That's really where he shined. Just being able to bully people. Just he contested catch guy. Really like what he can do. He really thrives at the intermediate 10 plus passing range. Really like what he can do, but he's not very physical. And when you watch the game against, I think it was Oklahoma, he didn't do very well against Trey Brown, and he's clearly shown. So that was his worst game. A little bit concerning for a guy 6 foot to be beaten by a guy 5'9", but contested catch guy shouldn't be doing that. So there's a little concerning. That's why I'm a little bit lower, but I did like him a lot. Moving on, we've got Brady Christensen going to the Steelers at pick 89. Now, Christensen, he graded us the best tackle in the draft class, and he's being slept on in my opinion because his production. He's also incredibly athletic, like very very athletic, and combined with that incredible production, I don't care that he was at a low level competition. He was really solid. So I think he could go even higher than this. I think he could be a second round player. Um, I have him in as my tackle number 9, right behind Alex Leatherwood. And if Leatherwood's a guard, tackle number 8, I think could easily go in the top 50. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's got that type of ability. So big fan of his. Next up, I have the Rams. I have them taking Aaron Banks out of Notre Dame. So Banks, I think he's a very solid. I think he's to be an interior offensive lineman. Played pretty solid, but you have some concerns with just his athleticism because while he is a really solid pass protector and run blocker, he's just really overall really solid. He just his feet are slow. He got exposed against Alabama with when they had a lot of TE stunts with players coming on the inside, just slow. So it's a big guy, be able to protect some offensive line, need some help. He'll be good. You know, maybe not in this system because of they love really pulling guard scheme. Maybe they would have preferred like moving a Larry Baroom to guard or something like that, or a Jackson Carman probably would have been the pick here that I would have if I could redo this. But obviously I can't because it's just for 15 minutes. So moving on, Stone for size 89 to Cleveland. Big guy. He just stonewalled Azeez Ojulari. 6'7". He's got maybe 6'8" actually. He's got great size, solid production, and kind of stash him on that offensive line because they've already got 2 good tackles, Wills and Conklin. So a little project there that they can work on. Moving on, 90 Tyler Shelvin, big run stuffer of LSU, just big guy. He can double team with them. Really help that defensive front. Just solid pick. Browns are back up. I've been picking Daz and Newsome out of USC. Speedster, elusive, great punt returner as well. Kind of similar to a Deontay Harris type. Big fan of his. The Packers take another receiver just to appease the gods of Aaron Rodgers and Dwayne Eskridge. Someone who is getting some buzz as a top 50 pick. I don't necessarily see it because he doesn't really stand out. 5'9" with 4.38. I mean, for that size, you either want to be really just crazy elusive, and he only has 4 missed tackles. Like I know he was the most yak of any receiver in this draft class per reception, but I think a lot of that's down to the level of competition because he's not making anyone miss. He's only got 4 missed tackles, and while he might have a lot of yak, I just don't see it. He's really good intermediate as well, though. So he'll be a solid player for this team. I think that he'll have a role in the system because Aaron Rodgers had the most yak of any quarterback in the league. I pair him with the receiver that had the most yak in college, so a good fit. Buffalo Bills, Kenneth Gainwell, who I like him. He's my 5th running back in this draft class. Just really, really solid. He lined up as a slot receiver sometimes. That's how good his receiving ability is. He's also a solid runner. Just really good player. They need a running back. Singletary's not doing it for me. Moss didn't cut it last season. Just throw another one in the mix. Just keep drafting them until you hit. At 94, this is my big sleeper. Like, big sleeper, like plus 150 compared to the consensus board, or plus 180. Jalen Campa at Georgia Tech. Like, I put him on my watch list as receivers just because of Georgia Tech hat. You know, see if I'm a fan. But, I mean, he's 4'4", 40, 6'2", and great contested catch guy. Great skills at the point of attack. Really impressive. But when I saw his pro day, I couldn't believe my eyes. He had 30 reps on the bench press. 7 more than Jamar Chase. The same amount as Penny Sewell for a 6'2" receiver. It was disgusting. I mean, he is ridiculous. He has this one catch against Alcorn State, which is one hand, just ridiculous catch. He's got great hands, great contested catch ability. Like, his hands are really underrated. Speed's there. He's like my ideal frame. Like, I love 6'2", 4'4". Combined with the speed and the hands, I'm a big Jalen Camp fan. I mean, Tech receivers are always going to be underutilized. Ravens, perfect pick. They're one to pick Darren Waller, and look how that turned out. Same thing. A Tech receiver, great skills, great size. Obviously, he had some issues off the field, but they fixed that out. He became the top 3 tight end in the league. I don't know if Camp's going to be able to be a tight end, but I mean, I think he's going to be a really good receiver. Moving on, Buccaneers, Jay Tufele at a USC. Solid tackle. Can't say much about that. Just help the defensive line. You win the trenches, get more trenches. Now, this is another one of my guys. Jamar Jefferson going to the Patriots, running back at Oregon State. Wow. When I watched the film, it was just an explosion. He's quick. He's not fast, but he's quick. Like, he looked like a kind of like Michael Carter-ish. Not as like a ball of power-ish, but and he was finding the hole. He was a patient runner, man. When I watched the film, I really like Jamar Jefferson. Like, he's one of my first watches because he was lower down on the rankings. Like, he was my last guy, first guy I watched because he was the lowest guy on the list I pulled. So I took a list of like the top 20 or so running backs. I went through them all. He was the first guy I watched. I just couldn't. As I kept watching, everyone just seemed worse than him. I had to keep going back to watching his film and saying he's not really that special. And then he did it against really good competition. Like, he played really well against some of the best competition in the schedule. Like against Washington and Oregon, and I mean, he looked really good. I mean, I really like him. After contact, he has 6.7 yards per, just really solid. I mean, there's not. I mean, he's great patient runner. He's a good receiver. Only one drop in his entire career, on 44 targets or 44 catchable passes. I mean, he's been productive every year in that offense. I mean, their run blocking grade was terrible. I mean, they had a 67 run block grade, 51st in the nation, but he was able to play really well. And I really like him. He broke a lot of runs, like 11 carries of 15 plus on only 130 attempts. I mean, that's a pretty good return. 10% around for 15 yards plus. I mean, that's what you want to see. I mean, the Patriots need someone that can take advantage of the giant holes they give them on the offensive line because they got a dominant offensive front. I think Jamar Jefferson could really take advantage of those holes. Moving on, I have the Chargers taking Wyatt Davis at Ohio State. Balance. Guards with good balance do well. That's what he has. Just really like it. You look at Elson Jenkins. Look at the guy that the Lions drafted last season out of Ohio State. Balance is what makes good guard. Wyatt Davis has really good balance. That's all you need to know. 98, our Darius Washington of the Saints. undersized guy, a safety out of TCU, but he's fun to watch. He's a really fun watch. And at work, he's going to be a really good slot corner. And what do the Saints need? Slot corner. I mean, they need corner help. They could use some safety help because Malcolm Jenkins is aging. Really fun, especially since Marcus Williams is on the franchise tag. I think this is a really good fit. He's really young. I think he can be a great player for this team. 99, Dallas Cowboys, Tommy Trimble, great blocker, tenacious, and some underrated receiving ability. Would be a really great fit for this offense. And he can develop. And at the very least, he's just a really good run blocker. Tennessee, Karen McGrone out of Michigan, another underrated linebacker, one of those sleepers in the draft. Just rangy, really good tackler, just solid linebacker. 101, Paulson Adebo out of Stanford. There's not a lot to say about him. Just a solid corner out of Stanford. I think that he's just a good player. Took a little bit of regression on this year from last season. Last season was dominant, 54% pass rating allowed. Just got really good ball skills. Just a solid corner. Intangibles are solid, 4.5 40, probably more like a 4.5 on tape. Just solid 3-cone. So he's got some agility to him. I think he's a solid corner with good ball skills. Moving on, 102, San Francisco, Amir Smith-Marset. Now, what a perfect fit. Smith-Marset, very underutilized in Iowa. Could be a sleeper at the draft if he's in the right system. Just great athleticism, great hands. I really like Amir Smith-Marset. I think that if you look at more of his in-depth numbers, you're not going to see anything because just that's not what he's going to get. Cause he just didn't get targeted at all. But, I mean, 10-yard split of a 1.44, like acceleration is just off the charts. And combine that, I mean, he's got some very great quick speed. And, he's just underutilized. Great acceleration, great quicks. So I think he can fit in this Kyle Shanahan offense of get the ball quicks, boom, now you're off. And I think that'll really help his game. Moving on, we got Tyreek Gillespie out of Missouri, the safety going to the Rams. He was the only guy that had any success against Kyle Pitts. Do I need to say more? Because that's really all you really need to know about him. He is just that's what he did. But if you want some more detail, then I mean he had a forced incompletion rate of 33%. Like, sorry, I had to pull the stats for a second there, but that is insane. Like, that is really, really good. So, you look at his testing numbers, 4.38 40, great speed. He has some potential to be a good tight end, lockdown kind of guy. And just, he's played slot, he's played defensive line, which is really weird. He's played box, he's played free safety predominantly. Versatile. I think he can be a solid player and a good flyer. Baltimore Ravens, Trey Sermon, just pair the Ohio State guys together. I mean, Trey Sermon is an underrated player in this draft class. I mean, crazy good. Like, he started tearing it up at the end of the season. Like, granted, he had a good offensive line run behind him, but I mean, you can't discredit what he did. I think he's going to be a really solid NFL player. Any team will be really lucky to have him. And then finally, final pick, New Orleans, Tyron Jackson, Coastal Carolina edge. Now, Saints player, I got to give some explanation because, my team. I mean, he is just big. He was very productive last season, 20% win rate. Just one of the most productive players in pass rush and incredible in the run. Like, it's just a really good run defender. And developing under Cam Jordan, kind of like a real Cam Jordan with how good he is in the run game. It's just big. He's just big dude. He's also just 4.6 40, 25 reps. I mean, solid. I mean, watching him against BYU is where I found him, and that was his worst game. And I wanted to watch some more of him. So, interesting player. And he's been good for the past 2 seasons. There's not much to say about him. I like him. I think he's underrated. This X class is really good, but that'll do it for my rankings. Done with 2 minutes to spare before the draft. It is 7:58. Took a while. It's a lot of players. 105. Took a lot of time to evaluate them. But obviously, I am not a professional. I'm not great at this stuff because I'm 17 and I go to school and watch only 1 or 2 games of each player. So either I have bad sample size or just bad evaluation. So if I'm wrong, go tell me, because I probably am about a lot of things. So let's just see how this all plays out. We'll go back to this in a year. And we'll see where I'm an idiot, and we'll see where I'm a genius. Most likely more like an idiot. So that'll do it for Triple Threat Podcast. I will see you after the draft, because I need to go watch right now. See ya.